BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and let's finish this trilogy of fixing GX characters with the one and only Manjoume Thunder! Manjoume Thunder! Manjoume Thunder! Yes, you're supposed to say it 3 times. Or for you Slifer slackers, Chazz it up! Chazz it up! Chazz it up! Chazz it up! Okay, I know I said I wanted the last video to not be as long as the Alexis one, and it was by like 5 minutes, so hopefully we can get to do less, because Chazz's problems are pretty minor compared to the other two, but it's still pretty impactful since people argue he's the worst treated of the rivals. Yeah, while I don't hate Roa from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, it's telling he doesn't get that complaint when he's only got 8 duels, though to be fair, that show was only 92 episodes, but it's still pretty beloved as a character and rival. Besides, with Chazz, it seems in general, seasons 1 and 4 are considered his better seasons, and his treatment in seasons 2 and 3 is considered his worst. And I can see why. He gets a fair bit of development in season 1 and season 4 regarding his standing and growth in spite of his ego, given his depths regarding his treatment by his family, and later him trying to get into the Pro League properly. And then seasons 2 and 3, well, Chazz had some focus, but because he was brainwashed for 56% of the season, yes, I did the math, he got brainwashed after losing to Sartorius in episode 61 and stayed that way until Jaden defeated him in episode 88, which isn't great. Compared to Alexis, he got to do more, taking over the Obelisk Blue Dorm, eventually getting through to Raw Yellows, and he duels Bastion, but almost loses until he forfeits and throws the Aljamas away, only to get knocked back to his senses to try and free him. At least he gets to help save out the school, but it felt like he could have done a little bit more brainwashed and unbrainwashed. For season 3, he duels Adrian in one of the funniest dub dialogue duels throughout the show, but loses. When they're pulled into the alternate dimension attacked by the zombies, Chazz is unable to repel them and becomes one of them, losing to Jaden for now the 4th time arguably in a row. Then when they go to save Jesse, Chazz is sacrificed when Jaden duels against Braun with his soul and body trapped in another dimension thanks to Yubel, and is free when Jaden fuses with him. So yeah, there's quite enough we could work with to improve. Alright, so for season 1, I have a few gripes or thoughts. The first duel ends up being a no result, which I'm fine with, but in the episode Jaden says he would have won because he had Monster Reborn. I've also heard conflicting arguments that Jaden wouldn't technically be able to do that because it's against the rules, and considering he's actually going to beat him later, I think for now, giving Chazz the win in episode 2 would work, especially since Jaden promises to actually duel him and beat him in front of everyone for next time. You know, given 2 episodes later, we know Jaden's going to beat him. That way we have 1 win and 1 loss so far. After he gets beaten by Bastion, at least from North Academy, in hindsight, if GX was more planned out, he probably could have had some tips or meet up with Jesse or Johan ahead of time. That would have been cool. He gets his arc of using weaker cards to win, earn his place to fight Jaden as the rep, and for some reason, despite all of this development, he loses. Why not just make it a draw or have him win this one so it feels like the growth he has is now equal to Jaden? Yes, we know he fights his brother later on and doubts himself in spite of it, but if you make it a win, it makes his brothers look worse because it further shows Chazz's brothers only see him as a tool they have no faith in regardless of his own accomplishments, and if he makes it a draw, it just shows that his brothers don't trust him to win, which makes his jerkiness all the more satisfying to put down when he actually does win, you know, and beats them. So, as for the Shadow Riders arc, we're here already. Yeah, considering originally he's one of the only 3 heroes to actually defeat a Shadow Rider alongside Alexis and Jaden, it's not bad at all. I just feel like he got the wrong opponent. I know this is going to be a hot take, but Abadios feels like it makes more sense for Chazz to have taken down Abadios III. Don't get me wrong, I get why they picked Dong Jalong, or Don Jaloom. He's got a team of dual spirits, and Chazz has a team of dual spirits in the Ojamas. But, like, they're supposed to be in his care after his duel, but Chazz never uses them for the rest of the series. Besides, the only argument people make for Jaden dueling Abydos is that they later reveal he's a Dimensional World's counterpart of the Prince of the World trying to keep him safe. But not only does Abadios even have a different backstory that doesn't even compare, since Abadios was just a spoiled brat by accident, Abadios doesn't even get mentioned later either, so making the switch feels like it makes more sense here. Besides, Jaden having a team of heroes versus a team of dark friends fits, so let Chazz, the arrogant guy who learns humility, versus the actual prince who never learned to face humility because everyone pampered him, actually hits more thematically. And I'm not alone on this too. Look at this. In the 7 stars version of 99% in the second opening, Abadios and Chazz were clearly set up to fight each other, but they changed it in the story graphs. I'm planning on doing a video on more times the Yu-Gi-Oh openings lie in the future, since when Yu-Gi-Oh Everything did it, he only did it around the time Arc 5 was ongoing, so there's still plenty more that was missed. And that's definitely going to be on the list in some degree or form. Yeah, I forgot. If you made it this far into the video, type Chaz deserved better. And let's continue. After you presumably like, comment, and subscribe, of course. Anyway, at the end of Season 1, we also just need to have him lose to Omniel with Alexis in a two-parter on screen this time to hype up how threatening Banner is as a final boss that we actually see. And you've got a pretty solid Chaz for Season 1. And to think this was the easy part of the video. So, for the Society of Light arc though, this is where things get tricky. For Season 2, Chaz gets a good start dueling the guy who was way nicer to him in the original Japanese and wants to go pro, and helps Jaden out of his funk when he gets beaten by Aster, only to end up dueling Sartorius, and 9 episodes later, he's not only managed to get all of Obelisk Blue converted, he got Alexis turned over too, and then by episode 82, he almost loses to Bastion and abandons his Ojamas. He manages to be the pro duelist in Gegalo before losing to Jason, and eventually reclaiming the school and defeats Blair. But there needs to be way more going on in between the middle of all those events. See, a minor problem with the Chaz and Alexis treatment in Season 2 is that the brainwashing robs them of their agency, which doesn't help when Sartorius' plans only rely on sending brainwashed minions, brainwashing others, or getting the kill set. So in order to help them have more agency involved in Sartorius' plans as villains, we need to play on Chaz's richest status and have Sartorius use him in order to make his dueling improvement as a light student enough to fund enough interest into either getting the satellite to help attract Ojin earlier into the tournament as a light student to fund enough interest, or fund enough promotion to invite the other Pro League duelists to the island to force the next tournament. Plus, like I said in the Alexis video, let's have him play off its insecurities about going pro and surpassing the need for his family, with his non-brainwashed self being overpowered by his light self, and with Sartorius' influence, Jaden knocking him out helps him break free of that. Also, just have him beat some of his classmates now that he's possessed. The fact that the writers didn't have him take Cyrus, Terran, or even Atticus to test his newfound strength would have been disappointing, because it really would have worked if they let him battle a few more people and hype up his threat level more. Hell, after he loses to Jaden, you know how he takes the school back eventually? How about instead of saving it for like the last moments in the tournament, while the other duels are going on, we actually see glimpses of him either saving the rest of the classmates and rallying the rest of his allies and people that weren't possessed to help fight against the other people that are possessed. You know, like Jasmine, Mindy, the other decent duelists from Season 1 that gave Jaden a challenge in order to turn half the campus back to normal. In fact, one more thing. Like Season 1, actually separate the duels into 2 parts, because like, it's a little bit uneven having Jaden and Sartorius take place at the same time as Chaz and Blair versus Ray, because it keeps going back and forth. Have Jaden versus Sartorius duel during episodes 49 and 50, then have Chaz and Blair and Ray duel in episodes 51 and 52 while they stop the satellite from blasting. In fact, I know people have wanted the series to work without Serrano, and while I'm working with all the characters for these fixes without getting rid of anyone, considering Jaden and Serrano's dual spirits were involved in destroying the satellite, why not have Chaz's Ojamas join them too? That'd be pretty funny, and they'd actually be able to let Chaz be involved in stopping the main plot and the side plot. Hell, you could even have Destiny Hero Plasma join them too. It's Aster's story too. Made this a Chaz and Aster saving video. In Season 3, his loss against Adrian ain't too bad, but he doesn't get a single win or duel afterwards that's not a duel ghoul where he gets possessed. I get why, it raises the stakes, but it's not a good look when the new characters are able to get duels against the masks, when those are people Chaz knows and would want to fight. Like, let Chaz fight them with the other students, or don't turn him into a duel ghoul to give him another pointless duel against Jaden that he's obviously gonna lose. Then, during the Dimensional World arc, well, him and the others getting sacrificed is necessary to kick off Jaden's development. But like I said with Alexis, at least let him duel and be influenced by aggression and lose to get sacrificed. But before he goes, have him yell at Jaden to not give up no matter what. For Season 4, let's just give him some more closure. At this point, Jaden's beating Moody and Mopey, and we know that Chaz is going to win against Jaden, but he had to throw it thanks to the manager shenanigans. So screw it. Jaden gains nothing by beating him. So before Chaz fights Aster, let's just give him one final defeat over Jaden, so the record ends up being a solid 2 losses, 2 wins, and 1 draw. And like I said before, have him beat his own version of darkness. At this point, he should be able to recognize that he's far above cheating like he did back in season 1 and has overcome so much insecurities in the past. Like, it's their final duels. Let them prove that they've grown throughout their journey. Also, out of the main 4, I'm surprised Jaden and Chaz have never teamed up in a duel when he's done it with almost everyone in the main cast besides Bastion and Tyranno. Like, Jaden did it with Cyrus, Jaden did it with Jesse, Jaden did it with Alexis, Jaden did it with Aster. Like, let Jaden and Chaz team up to fight some Truman clones together in the middle of the story. That'd be fun. But that's all I can say on Chaz. I do like him, he's a fun character, but if he was less ignored, he'd probably be more appreciated in hindsight. But that's all I can say on the matter. Hope you enjoyed. Look forward to whatever I talk about next. Thanks for watching, and BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.